Hey there, fellow adult collectors, welcome back. David Eon here with another virtual video unboxing today, taking a look at the Big Chief Studios third Doctor, and that of course is the Jon Pertwee 1/6 scale replica. Waited a very long time for this. There was a lot of delays with this figure, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. And if I look like I'm all torn to pieces, that's courtesy of a confrontation with a cat. She didn't mean it though. She got spooked. But anyways, been waiting a long time for this particular figure because it had been delayed a couple of times, which is not surprising because that happens quite often with Big Chief Studios, where something gets delayed and then you have to wait and wait and wait. But also because of something with Sideshow, because this was ordered through Sideshow. I like that they had these corner blocks there, because this kind of corrugated box is pretty flimsy, so at least the corners won't get smashed. However, as I was saying, if you ordered this through another service other than Sideshow, you probably already got it. I think the people who ordered these through Big Bad Toy Store got them a month ago, and I'm just now getting this, and I showed this on the last weekly roundup that I was going to be opening this up and doing a review, and here it is, finally. Jon Pertwee, third Doctor. And also in this package, you notice might have fallen out, 2 batteries. They included 2 batteries. Basically, I guess it was forgotten. I guess they didn't get packed in here with it, so they just added 2 batteries, which is fine. Here's your box art. Jon Pertwee, Doctor from 1974. I'm sorry, from 1970 to 1974. He ended in 1974, but he started in 1970. And this is just a professional photograph of the figure itself. It looks like they put a lot of detail in it. And I liked Jon Pertwee's performance as the Doctor. Jon Pertwee and Tom Baker are my 2 favorites, shoebox style, and it says number, I'm gonna guess that's 289 of 1,000 pieces made. I like the shoebox style though. Let's go ahead and get this going here. So 1970 to 1974, to be succeeded by Tom Baker, which is probably most people's absolutely favorite Doctor. There's an inner sleeve here. There's a sleeve covering, who I also liked and I also ordered. There we go. And that becomes a backdrop. Let me back this up here so you can see better. It's a photograph of the inside of the TARDIS. Kind of fuzzy actually. It's not a very clear photograph, to be honest. But, you know, that's fine. That's fine. Give you a little bit of a backdrop for the figure if you want it. And I'll set that aside. So our figure in the packaging, it looks like he only has 1 head sculpt. It's got some kind of a gun, his sonic screwdriver, a few odds and ends. It's hard to tell because of this covering, but we will be, of course, opening this up and examining all of the contents. I will pull this apart for everyone so they can see what this is. I had some concerns, I'm not going to lie. Oh, there's more down here. This is the base. I had some concerns because I've done reviews of Big Chief before. In particular, I did a review of the Captain Scarlet, and there were a lot of problems with it. If you haven't seen that review, I had some issues with Captain Scarlet, And additionally, other people had even worse problems than I did. So I was actually kind of fortunate with my Captain Scarlet in comparison to how things turned out for some other people. For example, a reverse magnet inside the hat and the hat would fly off, things like that. So let's go ahead and get him out and stand him up and see how he looks. And we are back with our Jon Pertwee Doctor out of the box and up on the stand. And it is a ball hugger stand. And if you've watched my reviews in the past, I'm referring to the type of stand that goes up between his legs and rests in his crotch. And I'm not a fan of those. I don't like those types of stands. Typically because most 6 scale figures tend to be top heavy. And they fall over, or the stand doesn't hook in well. It doesn't hook in well to the base. That's been my experience. But we'll go ahead and get a close-up and check his body out, look at his accessories, and then we'll take him down and test his articulation. And it is a decent sculpt. It would have been nice if there was a head change out, or my understanding also is with the Tom Baker edition that his eyes are going to be mobile. I think there's only a single head sculpt with the Tom Baker, but you can basically pull his hair off and there should be a switch to move his eyes around unless something changed. Same thing they did with the Captain Scarlet. Looking him up and down, it's kind of hard to see. He's got so many layers of clothing, and my understanding also is that the clothing is removable. And the batteries go inside the base, and the base lights up barely. It lights up, but it's hardly noticeable. Maybe it works better when there's less light, because it is a reflective base also. It's a mirrored base. I know this cape is just really in the way. Gloved hands, but also with hand changeouts available. And some of the accessories I recognize. He's got a handful of accessories. I haven't seen classic Doctor Who in quite a long time, but I grew up with it. I watched it on PBS primarily up to the 6th Doctor, I want to say. The other Baker, I can't remember his full name, whom I didn't like. I didn't really care for the Doctors after Tom Baker. I didn't think they gave very good performances. And the transition between Jon Pertwee and Tom Baker for me, I thought was pretty well done because they had similar acting styles. So it was a smoother transition. And then the person that came after Tom Baker, I was just like, who is this character? They tried so hard to make him extremely different. And he was, but it just didn't feel the same. Does that make sense? Take a look at some of the accessories here. And like I said, some of these I recognize, some of these I don't. Yeah, he did have the magnifying glass. And it is a functional magnifying glass. Believe it or not, they thought of that. See? It is a functional magnifying glass, which is pretty cool, actually, that they thought to do that. His pendant, because he had been known to hypnotize people. This piece, it looks familiar, but I can't quite put my finger on it. Maybe somebody who remembers the show better than me can tell. Some hand change-outs. Various hands for holding the different instruments, I imagine. And look at the detail here. You can see the tendons, the veins, but then look very closely at the nails. He actually has a manicure. You can see the tips of the nails. What a great detail. And his little pinky ring there. A lot of great detail on these hands. Yeah, I like Big Chief Studios, but as I said, you know, I was kind of disappointed with the Captain Scarlet because I had problems with it. A lot of people did. Plus the delays. I've been tempted by a few other things that they've done, like the John Koenig Space 1999 figure, some of their James Bond properties. They've done some Bond figures. 80s Flash Gordon. Pretty tempting. And they're expensive. Big Chief is not cheap. You're going to pay for it. A couple more hands here to round this off. Just great sculpting and coloring detail on these hands. And of course they also have done the Thunderbirds. I was kind of put off after my initial encounter, if you will, with, here's the sonic screwdriver. It does not extend, but it's a good replica. It's a pretty decent replica. I was tempted to just kind of back off from Big Chief after the problems that I had with the Captain Scarlet, but I couldn't resist with the two doctors. This is Watch. Which is just really well done. Does not open, but you probably just pop his hand off. Now this piece I don't remember. Oh, it's the remote for his car, isn't it? That like souped up classic car that he had. Didn't it have a remote? Tell me in the comment section. Now the crystal I remember. That was from the episode with the giant spiders. He had the crystal, and if you look into the crystal, it causes enlightenment. And then the gun. And I don't remember what episode this is from. And we'll go ahead and pull him off and test his articulation here. And the hair looks like a glued on piece. It's solid. It's a single neck joint that goes down into the shoulder, but you do get a lot of good movement here. It is pretty fluid, almost loose. It's actually kind of loose, but it's still fluid. Arm movement is pretty loose too. It doesn't feel obstructed at all, except for a little bit by the clothing. And his arm is bending the wrong way. It must be in there backwards. It's just flying around inside that joint. These are really loose. I think it's a double jointed elbow. I may pull his jacket off here just to see what's going on. Because yeah, look, this arm is going elbow backwards also. I think I need to undress him a little bit here to find out what's up with that. Let's, how is that attached? Is it a hook? It's hard to see it, and I don't want to damage this. It looks like they fed, like, take the coat off anyway. The overcoat. There we go. Alright, we're getting somewhere. There's his pants. His fly's open, but it can't be closed. There's nothing right there. There's Velcro here to seal that, but there's nothing to hold that piece down. Side to side torso movement, non-existent. Ab crunch, about so much. Oh, there we go. It loosened up. Something was obstructing it. So that's not bad. Hip movement, and I can feel it locking too. So there's a gear in there. Oh, doctor's got a dancer's body. And some big splits. Back movement stops, like almost at a standing position. But forward movement's pretty good. Karate master here. Double jointed knees. And these boots look really familiar. These boots actually look like the QMX Star Trek boots. As a matter of fact, I may get a QMX Star Trek figure and compare this. Rotation, ankle movement is quite obstructed, but there's a lot of good flexibility in the legs. Now I'm gonna go get the QMX Star Trek and compare the boot, and also see about opening this up without causing any damage, because it looks like it's literally a, I forget what you call this type of button, but it's through a little loop, and I don't want to damage it, but I want to make sure his arms are facing the right way, because it looks like they were installed backwards, and they just need to be twisted around without messing up the clothing. So hold on a moment. Okay, we are back, and I cannot get this jacket off. I've got a magnifying glass and I've studied this, and as you can see, it is actually a literal button. I cannot get a good enough grip on this button to work it through, and I don't want to damage it because it feels to me like these two panels are actually glued on. So I'm like, okay, and you can see this one's already coming loose right here. This bottom piece, I don't want to make it any worse, and I that's kind of a disadvantage. I'm like, you know, that could have been designed better. It looks good, but it could have been designed better so that it would be more functional. But I did manage to get the arms turned around inside the jacket. It does bunch up quite a bit in the back, but I guess they did that to keep it loose enough so that you could maneuver his body inside of the clothing. Although I'm going to keep working at that. I would like to try to get that at least opened in case I wanted an option where he was just in his shirt. I did go and grab a QMX Star Trek figure so I can compare the boots. There are some similarities, obviously. The most obvious being that they both have a zipper on the inside for sealing the boot. And that's what tipped me off, and I was like, oh, that's kind of really like the QMX. Duller finish on the Star Trek ones, and a bit of a tighter fit, it looks like, but there are a lot of similarities to how these were designed. Hand changeouts, and the wrong end comes out. That's great. Let's see. Both hands. And that's a disadvantage, because now you got to try to pull these out of the wrist joints. And it won't budge. I can't get it loose to change the hand. It's fluid in there, it twists, but it doesn't want to let go. I may need a tool. Well, here we go again. Okay, so this is turning into a big production like the last time I had something from Big Chief. I had to get a multi-tool, and that's the only way I could get this out of here, was to grip the wrist with a multi-tool and then pull it through, which is a bit much, I've got to say. When those joints are that tight, and let me see if I can even work that in there. Okay, when the joints are that tight, you've got a risk of breaking wrist joints, which is a common problem with 6 and 12 scale figures, is wrist joints breaking off. Now let's see if this one does right. No. So that's going to be an issue. And this is a soft hand too. It's very rubbery. It's very rubbery, but that joint grips in there so tightly. This is what I had to do. And I shouldn't have to do that because, again, there's a risk of damage. So I'm not too happy with the wrist joints. And I'll show you also the base here, the light up base. This is essentially what it does. Hold on. That's it. It just, that blue light comes on. And again, maybe it'll look better in a darker area on display. But let me go ahead and put him back together here and get him on display with the other sixth scale figures and see how he looks. Okay, update. Got the jacket off. Managed to get the jacket off with a great deal of assistance from my wife. It has a lining. It's a well done, well made jacket. This button was a nightmare, and it's an actual button. It took the two of us and a pair of tweezers to get it open. And this is also well made with a thick lining, and these, by the way, are also all buttons, just like you just saw on the coat. I am not going to close these buttons, and I will not re-close the button on this jacket. It was too difficult to get it open, and I'm really concerned about damaging this because of how hard it was to get that button out of that loop, and I can't imagine this would be any easier. Now, more discoveries. This jacket has stained the shirt. You can see the blue tinge all over the white shirt from where the dye has leaked through everywhere on the shirt in patches. You see there on the backs of the arms and everywhere. The other thing that I have discovered is how incredibly rudimentary the actual body is on this figure, and how it's constructed. There is like an actual gap here behind the head, and that's why it's so loose. The arms, I don't know if that will open there. No, I don't think so. But take a look at the actual body itself. Big exposed joints throughout. He has loops. These are real belt loops. You see that? Real belt loops on the pants all the way around. I don't know if that's a functional back pocket. I don't believe that it is. No, the front pocket, of course, is functional. The back pocket is not. So they could have put a belt on him and didn't. There's more staining all under the arm from the jacket. So this jacket is eventually going to ruin this shirt. And take a look at that body. Very generic body, big exposed joints on the torso and on the arms as well. I don't know about taking that shirt all the way off without pulling his head out. I mean, look at that. You see the breakaway plugs from the plastic. from the plastic molding. But you know, that might be something you need to know. So, impressions. I was very upset with the button. Again, it's a great detail. Excellent detail. It looks really, really good. But it's very difficult to work with. And I'll not be closing that button again, nor will I be using the buttons on the cape. Belt loops and no belt. I think there should have been a belt. I don't think these are functional pockets. I don't think it is. No, this is not a functional pocket on the coat. However, the jacket and the front of the pants do have functional pockets. The sculpt is very well done. That's an excellent likeness of Jon Pertwee. And sculpted hair, but it looks all right. It looks good. The detail on the hands was really well done. Again, like I said, you can even see his manicure. You can see the veins. You can see the skin tone, redness to knuckles. Very well done in the sculpting area. Very good mobility. Again, you know, you saw the splits earlier when I was testing this. You could have Jon Pertwee kung fu fighting here. You know, it's incredible. The flexibility is great, but the body looks very rudimentary. Odds are, though, you would not be stripping this, so that's okay. I would have liked to have seen a second head sculpt. Also, because the body is rudimentary, it means that everything is very, very loose. Very loose. And again, the wrists do not separate very well. I needed a tool because when you pull the hands out, the whole wrist joint is going to come out. So I needed a tool to remove it. I don't like that because that's more risk of damage. And here you can see more blue in the cuffs. So that jacket is going to completely ruin the shirt. The tie is an elastic. The head is very loose. That's a little bit of an issue. Looks good. Excellent flexibility. I like the accessories. Figure is too loose. Body is very rudimentary, despite the flexibility. And the costume, fantastic detail on the costume. They did a great job with it overall, but it's bleeding onto the shirt. The pants don't look right up top because, again, no belt, and this is just wide open right here. I like that they included batteries. That's a plus, that they gave you batteries. I complain about that with 6 scale figures all the time. I hem and haw on 3.0 for it. 3.0 never gives you freaking batteries. They gave you batteries. Hot Toys gives you batteries. Mezco gives you batteries. Come on, 3.0, step up your game. Impressions. I mean, I like the figure. I like Jon Pertwee. That loose neck joint is driving me nuts, though. I like Jon Pertwee. I think that Big Chief hit the mark in a lot of areas, but also missed the mark in a few. The dye bleeding onto the shirt, lack of a belt, really loose joints, the problem with the wrist joint, so on and so forth. So it's got a lot of pluses and it's got a handful of minuses too. That loose neck being the biggest one. I mean, that's... oh my God. That's driving me nuts. And it is in all the way. It's in as far as it's going to go. So I guess next I will just go ahead and put him in with the other figures and get him into a pose and see how he looks. And now we just step out of the main room and out into the next room where we have most of the modern stuff. You see a lot of 12 scale, a lot of 6th scale down here, and the Jon Pertwee Big Chief Studios Doctor Who sort of on display. Looking at his crystal, the base is lit up. I still don't recall the significance of that base. Maybe someone could explain it to me. I see no purpose in keeping that lit up all the time otherwise, but let me know. Here he is next to the Big Chief Studios Captain Scarlet, and if you haven't seen the review for that one, go ahead and look for it in the channel history. A lot of people had trouble with this one. Mine, the epaulets did not light up, the base didn't light up, the vest is very tight. I had to actually remove the battery to get the vest to fit. Not that the battery worked anyway, so it doesn't matter. People had more problems than I did with that figure, and I was a little leery about getting the Jon Pertwee because of that. But I like, again, pros and cons. I like the way he looks. The sculpt is very well done. The hands and the head are very well done. Body, very rudimentary body, although it is jointed quite satisfactorily. The jointing on the body is excellent, quite frankly, even though it looks ugly when you strip him down. The clothing, again, great detail, too much detail in fact, because that button was a nightmare. I like the accessories he comes from, or I like the accessories he comes with, because they do tie in with specific episodes. I enjoy that they did that. Overall, I like him. I think that there's things they could have done better. The wrists were a problem. The buttons were a problem. His neck is a problem. It just does not want to stay up. It's super loose. They could have sculpted the body a little bit better for in case anyone wants to break him down. I don't know, guys. What do you think? Let me know what your thoughts are about this figure in the comments section down below. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you think that the pluses are enough to override the negatives? Give me your opinions. Were you able to get this figure? Is this a figure that you're interested in? Again, one of my favorite doctors, Pertwee and then Tom Baker. Tom Baker being my absolute favorite. Let me know what your thoughts are. And I did order the Tom Baker also, so I'll be doing a review of that as well. Anyways, please do give the video a thumbs up. Share it if you can. Subscribe if you're new. Check out some of our other videos. Lots of unboxing videos. Lots of toy industry discussions and nostalgic discussions and all sorts of things that we do here. Something for everyone, and we hope you'll check it out and enjoy. So thanks for watching, and we will see you again soon.